So there are some of the speeches that we as Africans have to talk about them. More so the speeches that are done by African leaders, because few of African leaders can deliver such speeches, because most of African leaders, they are not into what the general population think. Now, one of the speeches was done by the president of Burkina Faso, that is President Ibrahim Traoré. So let's have a look at Ibrahim Traoré's speech. Then when we come back, we can analyze this video further.
So this is to say that we are aware of the situation, we know the problem. As someone said, we know the illness, and everything we are doing today is to cure it. There is a lot to be done, and as I have always said, I can't solve everything with the snap of a finger. It's not possible. But we are making the efforts we can. We are making sacrifices so that we can achieve our goals as quickly as possible. And if we made the collective decision to finally embark on this mission, it's because we sincerely believed that it was absolutely essential for our people to experience true and lasting happiness as well. We keep saying it over and over again. We were born into conditions that were perhaps challenging and far from easy. As we grew up, we saw Burkina with our own eyes, and we also caught glimpses of other countries through international news broadcasts and various media reports. And maybe we traveled to some countries in the meantime, and we saw the realities there. And we also asked ourselves questions. Why? Why can't our country also develop and prosper like those countries? As I said last time, there is no reason why in some countries that have just discovered maybe oil in less than 30 or 40 years, everything changes completely. But why is it that in Africa we are not able to do the same thing, even though beneath our soil there is oil and other types of minerals? Take the example of Dubai, which is nearby. 30 years ago, there were only 1 or 2 buildings in the city. Today, I am sure that many people here from the private sector enjoy taking a flight to Dubai to do business. They never miss the chance to make a short video to show off the beauty of the city. Buildings have sprung up everywhere, all over the place. All of this just because of oil exploitation. But how many countries in Africa exploit oil? Have they experienced this kind of development? So there is a question we need to ask ourselves. Here in Burkina, we exploit gold and many other minerals, even though we haven't discovered oil yet. But what have we done?
That is the president of Burkina Faso, President Ibrahim Traoré, asking so many questions in relation to Africa development. That why is it that Africa is one of the wealthiest continents in the world in terms of resources, yet ironically it's still punching below her weight. Take a geographical look at how Africa is. Look at Congo, for example, the wealthiest countries in the world in terms of resources. Yet in Congo, people are still languishing in poverty. So what are they not doing right? Traoré is asking that. But today we are going to answer that question. And to answer that question, I'm taking you back to Nigeria. A famous author there by the name Chinua Achebe wrote a book, The Problem with Nigeria. And the same concept, I want to apply it to the entire continent. Chinua Achebe said, the problem with Nigeria is simply and squarely one of leadership. So is Africa. That the problem with we as Africans is simply and squarely one of leadership. That we elect people into office, people who are not passionate about Africa development. We elect people into office, people who are not into achieving Africa's agenda. So that is why we as Africans are still suffering and still punching below our economical weight. It is as simple as that. Now Traoré is trying to change the narrative. Even though he was not elected democratically, go to Burkina Faso right now and you see massive and massive development that is happening in Burkina Faso. Let's continue watching this video.
And to be a nation, we need discipline. As I said, we need selflessness. We need to have a goal to focus on. And that's what we're going to discuss at length. If we don't have a goal, we'll wander aimlessly and won't know where we're going. And if we also don't know where we come from, we have no reference points. It's like someone in the middle of a desert with no landmarks. He doesn't know where to go. He doesn't know what to do. No, we need to have reference points. And to have reference points, we need to go back and question history. And we must not hide any part of our history. And we should also make sure that Stockholm Syndrome does not become a common illness among all Africans. You've likely heard of Stockholm Syndrome. It is a psychological condition where the person who actively harms you ends up being deeply loved, cherished, and fiercely protected by you in the end. You understand? That is to say, the aggressor, the one who harms you, who undermines you, you end up even loving him, defending him, protecting him. Many people are affected by this Stockholm Syndrome, whether it's here in Burkina or in Africa in general, because Africa has suffered a lot. And people have tried to erase Africa's history. And many people don't even know the history of Africa. Yet we must not remain ignorant. We need to know our history in order to know where we are going. Africa was not always like this. Let's acknowledge that. I told you once, if our ancestors in our bushlands as we walk around, we see that the ancestors were able to take the earth and extract iron from it. But why is it that today we can't do it? It's because we've lost something along the way. And what have we lost? How did we lose it? These are the questions we need to ask ourselves. Once we ask ourselves these questions and find the answers, we are cured of our illness, the Stockholm Syndrome. And these questions, we must ask them bravely and face them head on. And as I said, we are not politicians. We don't avoid problems. We face problems and solve them. We don't just move them elsewhere. There are many topics in our societies that we want to address. These taboos, these things. As soon as the police say, if you mess around, you're going to lose your electoral base, we're going to address this topic, we're going to tell the truth. And then, if you like it, that's how it is. If you don't like it, that's how it is too. But this is our story. And we need to remember our story, where we come from, what was done to us that made us this way. This is a big rant that I'm going to deliver to all black people, if I can put it that way. Here at Waiwiwa. And why Waiwiwa? I'll tell you why Waiwiwa. What does Waiwiwa mean? It means to come and bow down. What I am prepared to announce to you all today signifies the definitive commencement of a brand new way of conducting our collective affairs. And by that I mean that if you grant us your full consent to move forward, those who choose to attack us will eventually come and bow down right here in the end.
So Traoré apparently is one of the celebrated African leaders. And mind you, even though massive development is being done by Traoré in Burkina Faso, Traoré is never given right to audience when it comes to the African Union sittings. It's as simple as that. Why is he never given right to audience when it comes to African Union seats? It's because African Union thinks that Traoré was not democratically elected, because for most Africans, actually, let me just say, for the Western world and the entire world, they think that for you to be democratically elected, it means there must be periodic elections. Okay, maybe after 5 years or 4 years. So that is how they define democracy. So Traoré is never given right to audience in African Union because he is not democratically elected. But now things are changing in one way or another, because I think I remember 2 weeks ago, President Traoré was visited by the African Union president, that is the president of Burundi, who paid a visit in Burkina Faso, and the main issue was to discuss how the Sahel region was to be incorporated with the African Union. That is a good thing, because in one way or another, African Union is trying to realize that maybe the Sahel region is getting it right. They're trying to benchmark. Why are they doing it right that African Union is failing? President of Burundi paid a visit to Burkina Faso. So that is the state of Africa as we are speaking now. And few leaders in Africa, they have realized that, led by the president of Burkina Faso. Also, the Sahel region president, that's President Goita and President Chiani of Niger. They are doing what Africans want. If you can remember, social media and some of the media companies have been banned from operating in the Sahel region because they are not reporting what is required. They are not reporting what is required. So That is the state of Africa as we are speaking right now.